Coming up on Bobcat Breakdown, the men's ice hockey team had 2 close games this weekend. We'll let you know how the Bobcats did against Colgate and Cornell.
And field hockey fell to Fairfield 2-0 in the MAC Championship. What's the final word on the season? All that and more coming up on Bobcat Breakdown.
I guess that's you.
Welcome to another episode of Bobcat Breakdown. I'm Dylan Fearon.
And I'm Josh Silveman. We have a lot to talk about tonight, Dylan. Let's get right to it.
All right.
Quinnipiac's women's field hockey team defeated Ryder 3-2 in the semifinals of the MAC tournament Friday, but fell to Fairfield 2-0 in the MAC championship on Sunday. Dylan, now that the season's over, how do you think they did?
You know, heck of a season for this team. I mean, it started off real slow because you're playing in a tough out-of-conference schedule. You're playing teams in the Big 12, the Big 10, the ACC, Big East, Ivy, the list goes on. And so you start off really slow because you're playing nationally ranked teams, very good teams. Then you get into conference play and they really started clicking. Went 5-1 in conference play. They were the co-champions. They were 6-2 at home. You know, they defeated Ryder team in the semifinals, Savannah Rally with a goal as time expired. You know, in the championship game, it just wasn't their day. Fairfield's a very good offensive team. Just happened to be their day. Quinnipiac, you know, the luck wasn't on their side on Sunday. But you got to keep your head high because it was a great season for them.
And you said they started out slowly. I agree with that. And I think they did a great job of throughout the season of picking their heads up and winning these close games, okay? They had 11 of their games were decided by 1 goal or fewer. I mean, obviously, there were ties.
Right.
And they were able to come back and overcome those.
You know, good teams find a way to win. And so when you're talking about all these wins that they have by 1 goal or 2 goals, you know, they find ways to win late in games. We've seen it all season long, especially in MAC play. Sunday just wasn't their day. Credit to Fairfield, who's got a great offensive squad. They had the MAC Player of the Year. They had the MAC Offensive Player of the Year. Tremendous offensive abilities. And just wasn't Quinnipiac's day. And the toughest part about it, Josh, is that when you lose to a team that's better than you, you know, you can live with that. You lost to a better team. But I think in this situation, in my opinion, Fairfield was not better than Quinnipiac. Just on Sunday, they happened to be. But I think Quinnipiac was a better team overall during the season.
And you know what? They won their first game in the tournament. They did make it to the championship, which is great. But I think some of the games in the regular season, 8 of their 9 wins were decided by 1 point or less. I think that some of those games definitely could have gone the other way. They had some lucky bounces, a lot of late goals by their team, and it showed. You
know, my heart goes out to Megan McCullough, Megan Osanish, Megan Connerboy, and Hilly Schwartz, the 4 seniors on the team that are not returning for next year. And going off that, Josh, Megan Connerboy was the goalie. She's a 5th year. She's been the goalie for as long as I can remember. You know, how much are they going to miss her, and can they bounce back next year without her?
I'm not sure if they can bounce back. I think one positive is that they do have a lot of returners this year. But anytime you lose a goalie and a vocal leader on your team, it's so hard to overcome that because the goalie is shouting at the defenders, and I don't think that the backup has been tested enough. I think that losing Megan Connerboy, it will be a huge loss, and it will be very hard for Quinnipiac to overcome next year.
You know, Megan Connerboy only missed 1 game this season. It was against Boston College, and the backup freshman, Bianca Porcaro, both backups on Quinnipiac's roster are freshmen. And so Bianca Porcaro played 1 game against Boston College, allowed 4 goals, but Boston College is a very good team. So we haven't seen Porcaro a lot. I assume she'll be the starter next year as a sophomore, but that's a big loss in Megan Connerboy. But you do return a decent amount. I mean, you return a D-core that's led by Angie King, who led the nation in defensive saves, you know, all MAC second team this season and last season. So she's back for her senior year. You bring back a lot up front. Michelle Federico's back. Lily Shimo's back. Savannah Riley's back for her 5th year, and she was tremendous in the MAC tournament this weekend, and she was tremendous all season long, and she was very good last season as well. So she's back. You know, you return a lot. Yes, you lose some senior leadership, some offensive production, but you do bring back a lot, and I think they're going to be back in the playoffs, and you never know, back in the championship game.
And like you said, I think it will help that they will have Angie King back there because I think she will take the vocal leadership position. I think that's great that she can help the younger players, help the younger goalie, as you mentioned, will be a freshman. Savannah Riley will enter her 5th year of eligibility, which will be huge for this team. She had 9 goals this year. Angie King had 6. Savannah Riley was the person that they leaned on, especially late in the games. I think that will be a huge boost for this team.
Plus, Becca Main's a great recruiter. So all the freshmen she brought in this year are going to be a year older. She's going to bring in a good recruiting class, like always. Everyone's a year mature, another year of experience. They were just in the championship game, so everyone coming back's a year wiser, a year mature. So I think they're going to be right back in the tournament and perhaps even the championship game.
Exactly.
So now, Josh, let's move on to men's ice hockey, who just had an unbelievable weekend, Josh. I mean, talking about Colgate, Bobcats won 3-2. Then they go on and play Cornell, and they're down 4-1. They come back with 3 goals in the second period and make it 4-4. Game goes into overtime, and the Bobcats win 5-4, and that was on Saturday. Huge weekend for this team, who's now 8-0-0. What are your takes from the weekend?
So first of all, something that Quinnipiac showed this year that they haven't shown last year is their resilience. Okay, in the St. Cloud game, they showed resilience. They came back. They were down 4-1 in this game. Okay, a lot of people thought that the game was over, and they just kept fighting back. And good teams, like you said, they find a way to win. This team has, with their veteran leadership, they've been finding ways to win. They're undefeated, and they're really beating their opponents. I'm very confident on this team.
I really thought they were going to lose a game this weekend, only because they had won 6 straight, and then they had an off weekend. So you had 2 weeks in between games. So I really thought this was the weekend where they might lose when you're on the road. So sometimes you get a little complacent when you have a weekend off. But they proved me wrong. 2 big wins on the road. Now they go and play Harvard and Dartmouth next weekend at home. That's going to be huge. I mean, 8-0-0, it's very tough in hockey to consistently keep winning and start this hot. I mean, it really has been extremely impressive.
And they outshot Cornell 33-18, which is huge. Okay, and their first 2 games were ECAC games, and these first 2 games were ECAC games. They won both of them, and I think that will move them up to 4th in the poll.
Really?
Something that we haven't seen very often from Quinnipiac. Where do you think they will go into the poll?
I think they're probably going to stay right around that number 5 spot. I mean, they're obviously not going to go down, Josh, but I think they're going to stay at 5 or 4. But tremendous start to the season, 8-0-0. I mean, absolutely unbelievable. No one could have predicted this start, even Rand Packnell.
Quinnipiac's men's ice hockey team has 12 power play goals this year. At the touchscreen, to break down the Bobcats' major success on the advantage is James Anderson and MJ Baird. Guys?
Josh, I'm James Anderson. I'm here with MJ Baird. We're going to break down why the men's hockey team this year's power play has been so successful. MJ's got some numbers for us just on what percentage they've been converting their opportunities in over the last few years and why this year is so much better.
Right, so this year the Bobcats are at 38.5% conversion rate on the power play. That's 10 for 26. Yes, that's only 26 power play opportunities, but we're early in the year, and the Bobcats are on track for something good. And as you'll see now, the 14-15 hockey season, the Bobcats were converting 19.2% of the time. Very dismally low compared to 38.5. 13-14, it was 22.5% of the time. And in 2012-2013, the year the Bobcats made it to the national championship, their power play was only converting 14.6% of the time. That's abysmally low for a team that's in the national championship.
Yeah, so clearly, because they've been so improved this year, this must have been a point of emphasis for Rand Packnell and his coaching staff. MJ, why don't you break down some of the plays for us?
All right, so we'll start here. This is Bobcats hosting Arizona State. We'll start with this power play. You'll see here, great block shot by Arizona State, but we got Devon Taves out here with the puck, and 1, 2, and James, if you will, 3 Bobcats as compared to 1 Arizona State player in front of the net. You already see the goalie. He's struggling to see around. So this is, so far on this power play, already good for the Bobcats. Moving forward, now we'll watch this play out. St. Denis has a couple options here. He can either go back to Taves at the point or throw it in front, look for a scoring chance. He elects to throw it in front, and boom, we get a rebound. Landon Smith knocks it in. However, high sticking on the play, that's no goal. So just a few moments later now on the same power play, let me go back real quick. We missed a little bit of this one. So right here, we have puck is right here. We have Sam Annis available for the pass. This is where the original pass came from. However, we're still missing one. Where's the other Bobcat, James?
St. Denis
Here, let me give you
right down here.
Here's some pink so we can see that.
Yeah, we got St. Denis over here off camera now. Left-handed shot, has all this room to work with a one-time pass. Devon Taves has this huge passing lane right there.
Right, and you just mentioned it right there. These two Arizona State defenders, almost in no man's land with this. He could either go here, he could go here. He does elect to go down there. And like we said, Travis St. Denis is wide open on this play. And boom, textbook goal on the power play for St. Denis.
What do we see in this one here?
All right, so this is against Holy Cross. So it's basically a 4-on-3. And look at all this wide open space right here. All the way in, literally to the goalie. This Holy Cross guy's on this Bobcat. He doesn't release early enough in order to come over here. So that leaves wide open Sam Manis right here. And he's just going to walk in. Great shot opportunity, especially on the power play. Yes, that might be a bad angle, but you're going to want to take the shots on the power play, hopefully produce a rebound. Yeah. As we see, they got the two guys out front waiting for the rebound. Doesn't happen to be one here, but in future times, that will definitely be an occurrence.
For an extended version of James and MJ breaking down the power play, go to Q30television.com. It's time for a quick break, but when we return, Dylan and I will be discussing the upcoming men's basketball season. Stay with us. You're not going to want to miss it.
Laser Medica Derma Centers is a new philosophy in skincare for all ages. We are dedicated to offering the most technologically advanced and least invasive skincare treatments. Show your Q card and receive 20% off any procedure. We also provide microdermabrasion and Botox treatments, all performed in a relaxing spa environment. We are conveniently located at 52 Washington Avenue in North Haven, just down the street from Quinnipiac's North Haven campus. Call to schedule a free consultation and find out how Laser Medica can give you smooth, sexy skin all year long.
I could really go for a Ray and Mike's sub right now.
Come to Ray and Mike's and try our Philly chicken and cheese for just over $4. Giant cheesesteak subs and mouth-watering boar's head sandwiches for as low as $4.75. Q Cash accepted just a mile down the road on Whitney, here at Ray and Mike's.
We are your source for entertainment news.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. The men's basketball team hits the hardware for the first time this Friday as the Bobcats take on Sacred Heart in the season opener as part of the Connecticut 6 Classic. In this year's MAC preseason coaches poll, Quinnipiac was picked to finish 7th out of 11 teams. Josh, what's your initial take on the poll? What interests you? Is it fair?
Well, I think it is fair, and here's why. Because James Ford Jr. is the only player on the team who has played full 4 years at Quinnipiac. They have 3 transfers who we haven't seen play yet. They have 3 incoming freshmen. I think 7 is fair. I think that maybe they could move up to 6. Like, that would also been fair, and 8, but I think 7 is fair. What do you think?
Well, I think they lost 4 starters from a team last year that was 15-15. Now, yeah, you didn't have Giovanni McLean, but if you think about it, last year they were picked 5th with Giovanni McLean, and they ended up finishing 6th without him. I think 7th is pretty fair. They could have been 6th. I think they're a better team than Canisius is, considering Canisius lost Zach Lewis to transfer. But I think the poll is generally fair. I mean, Iona is clearly the best team in the MAC top to bottom. They have a lot of great wings. AJ English is going to go to the NBA next year. Isaiah Williams can hit the 3. Shadrach Casimir is a great point guard, and he was the freshman of the year last year in the MAC. I think Iona is clearly the best team in the conference, but you can't count out Manhattan, who's won the conference tournament the last 2 years. They are the team that's been in the NCAA tournament. They have all the experience in the NCAA tournament.
Do you think Iona is the team to beat?
Oh, absolutely. Of course. They've been the ones who the last 2 years. They just haven't put it together in a tournament style.
What about Manhattan, though? They won the MAC the past 2 years.
Right, and they're going to be on there, but Manhattan has lost a lot more pieces than Iona has. Iona lost David Lowry. Manhattan really hasn't Manhattan's lost more pieces than Iona has, and Iona brings back way more. But Monmouth has good guards, Ryder has good guards, Siena brings back a lot. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the season plays out. But I think Quinnipiac should be 6th or 7th in the poll. I think it's pretty fair.
All right, so Quinnipiac hosted the CT Classic last year. They're not hosting it this year, but what games are you looking forward to?
Oh, well, all 3 games are going to be great. I mean, the Connecticut 6 Classic is a great event. It showcases the 6th Division I basketball teams in Connecticut aside from UConn. So it gives those 6 teams a little more exposure because everyone thinks of UConn as this basketball powerhouse, which they are.
Right.
But it gives these 6 teams, a little more exposure. I think Quinnipiac's playing Sacred Heart. I'm looking forward to that, obviously, because Quinnipiac is such an interesting team. 6 new faces plus Giovanni McLean is eligible. Sacred Heart's a pretty solid team. They're middle of the pack of the NEC, but they have a really good point guard in Kane Broom, who's a sophomore this year, and he had a great freshman campaign last year for the Pioneers. I'm looking at Yale's playing Fairfield. That should be a very good matchup. Yale was 1 game away from the NCAA tournament last year, and Fairfield brings back a lot of pieces from last year's team. So those 2 games in particular, I'm looking forward to. Obviously, Hartford versus Central, Connecticut State is going to be a good game, but those first 2 are the ones I'm looking forward to the most.
And I think it's going to be interesting to see how Giovanni McLean, how he plays with the offense, okay, because they're not familiar. They played in practice, but I think it's going to be interesting to see them tested in-game, and I don't know. I mean, do you think they'll win that first game?
I think they will. Quinnipiac generally wins their first game of the season. 2 years ago, they beat Hartford in the Connecticut 6 Classic. Last year, they played Yale in a double overtime thriller. So I think they'll pull out the W. But at the end of the day, out of conference doesn't mean a ton in mid-major basketball. It'll be interesting to see what their starting lineup looks like, considering those 4 starters from a year ago.
Okay, so you think that Iona is the team to beat in the MAC right now?
Of course, Iona is the best team in the country, in the MAC, excuse me, not the country. They have the ability to win a game in the NCAA tournament if they can get there. Their problem has just been getting there because they lose in the MAC tournament against Manhattan. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. Iona is clearly the best team, but Manhattan, Monmouth, Ryder, all looking to dethrone Iona as the regular season champs. Siena's got tons of guys coming back and a couple transfers coming back. St. Peter's was in the semifinals last year. Now they lose players, but they're also one of the best defensive teams in the MAC last year. So defense wins championships. They can do anything this upcoming year. It's going to be a very interesting year. It's pretty packed tight after Iona and Manhattan.
I mean, do you think Quinnipiac can sneak into that number 5 spot and get a bye?
Yeah, I do. I really think they can get that 5 spot. I mean, it's all going to depend on how things play out. I mean, their biggest thing last year was not performing well at the end of basketball games. 12 of their 15 losses last year came by 6 points or less. So they can crack down on finishing games and getting the ball to Giovanni McLean and him finishing and him being the guy at the end of games. Then instead of 15 and 15, they could be 18 and 12, 19 and 11. They have that kind of ability and they have the kind of players that they brought in. Sometimes coaches draw up an offense knowing they're going to miss a shot. And that's why they brought in Will Simonton and Donovan Smith to be the new big men this year to go with Chase Daniels and Samuel Dingba.
Yeah, I don't see them moving up to 5, but I do see them getting into the tournament, and I think that they could, like you said, Giovanni McLean, if he can merge with this offense, I could see them doing something really great.
Should be a very interesting season. For more, let's go to Morey Hershgordon, who's out with the touch screen, and he's got more on Quinnipiac's returners this season. Morey.
Thanks, Dylan. Tom Moore's team has 7 new faces. They have 3 freshmen. They have 3 transfers, and they have Giovanni McLean, the star recruit that Tom Moore brought over after he originally committed to Oklahoma. But I'm going to look at now 4 players, 2 guards and 2 bigs. They're going to take the place of Evan Conti, Zaid Hurst, Usman Drame, and Justin Harris, what those 4 seniors left coming into this season. So first I'm going to be talking about sophomore point guard Aaron Hutton. Aaron Hutton was an all-MAC. It's on the all-MAC rookie team last year at 6'3", 190 pounds. He uses his explosiveness and his length to finish in the lane. We're going to look here at play 1 around the defenders, and you can clearly tell when he finishes the ball over A.J. English, high up off the glass, he can finish over anybody in the conference, whether it's a big man or whether it's a guard in A.J. English who's 6'5" and can jump through the building. Now on to the next play, we're going to be talking a little bit about Aaron Hutton in the transition. Aaron Hutton realizes that he has a 2-on-1, and the unselfish player he is, he's going to read the defense, and he's going to keep the ball high over Cedric Casimir. Cedric Casimir is only 5'8", and with Hutton being 6'3", he keeps the ball over his shoulders, and he uses his length and athleticism. Here you can see the acceleration from Hutton as he finishes in transition. Now we're going to look at Aaron Hutton off the ball. Just for a minute, Evan Conti enters the ball into Usman Drame, and Aaron Hutton's defender is going to double team Drame. Aaron Hutton's going to read the defense. Top of the key, Usman Drame finds him. Hot shot, show him what you got. Billy Mecca and his players love that term. Quinnipiac going to shoot a lot more threes this year. Now we're going to go on to James Ford Jr. James Ford Jr. is a great defender for Quinnipiac. He puts that first. Team guy, he's the only four-year player here in Hamden, but he also can knock down the three ball. Evan Conti finds him after being double-teamed on the high ball screen. James Ford Jr. slides down to the wing, and he hits it. That was against Siena on ESPNU late in February. A little later in the game, we're going to talk about James Ford Jr. on the defensive end. Zaid Hurst tries his best to cut off the outlet pass, but when Hurst can't get to it, Ford is going to be there to use his height and athleticism to rise up for the block. Now we're going to transition over to the big men. Quinnipiac has been tops in the country in blocks and rebounding for the past half a decade, and Chase Daniels, the Meriden, Connecticut product, thrived under Usman Drame as Drame's backup. He had a great freshman year, averaging 8 points and 3 rebounds. Evan Conti is going to draw the defense in the corner. Chase Daniels is going to read that the big man slides down to double Conti, which means Daniels slides out to the elbow. And like all Quinnipiac big men do, knock down the jumper. 15-footer for Daniels. Against Iona, a more athletic team, a more scrappy team. Kasim Chandler drives down the middle of the lane, pulls David Laurie out to stop him. David Laurie in great position. He's above the circle. A.J. English, clearly his eyes are not on the ball. He's on Zaid Hurst. And look at Chase Daniels. His hands are up. When big men have their hands up, guards can feed them the ball very easily. Kasim Chandler's going to drop the ball off in the short corner. Chase Daniels, at 6'9", 240 pounds, can easily put it over any big man in the conference. Now we're going to go on to Sam Dingba a little bit. Sam Dingba comes up with the high ball screen. Evan Conti does a great job coming off the ball screen to the middle. Dingba's going to roll right to the basket. Once the defense collapses, again, I'm talking about hands up, and when the hands are up, the guards can always feed the bigs because they know they're ready. Dingba has his hands up right there. I don't know if you'll be able to see that one, but you'll be able to see the flush. Dingba at 6'6", a great talent from Cameroon. And all across the board, whether it's the guards or whether it's the forwards, Quinnipiac has a lot of depth this season that Tom Moore is going to be able to use at his exposure. Guys, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Morey. The Bobcats and the Pioneers tip off at 5 p.m. on Friday night. When we come back, women's hockey only allowed 1 goal this weekend, but how many wins did the Bobcats come away with? Plus, men's soccer lost in the quarterfinals of the MAC tournament in Disney. We'll give you our season grades, and don't forget about our Step Up and Sit Down Players of the Week. Stick it here. Bobcat Breakdown. We'll be right back.
Welcome to A Sheer Sensation, North Haven's premier cosmetology service, located at 140 Washington Avenue, minutes from Hamden. We offer an array of services, from basic cuts and colors to lash extensions and formaldehyde-free keratin treatments. We also provide hair chalk and styling for men. When you spend $60, your Q card will get you 10% off. Call us at 203-239-6477 to make your next appointment at A Sheer Sensation.
My name is Doug Thoreau. For nearly 90 years, 3 generations of my family have been providing the highest quality repair service. Insurance companies will refer car owners to lesser quality shops to save money. At Thoreau Auto Body, we provide the highest quality repairs with a lifetime guarantee to maintain the safety and value of your car. That's the quality you deserve. Thoreau Auto Body, our best work goes unnoticed.
Welcome to Joya Spa and Salon in Hamden. Whether you want a new look or the perfect wedding day hair, come to us for complete hair and nail care, cuts, styles, updos, extensions, and beautiful dimensional hair color, as well as manis and pedis, acrylics, gels, and shellac. Treat yourself to a facial, a peel, or microdermabrasion. Relax with a variety of massage techniques, including Swedish and hot stone massage. Joya Spa and Salon. Call today.
Welcome back. This past weekend, the Quinnipiac women's ice hockey team played to a scoreless tie against Colgate and then turned it around and beat Cornell 3-1 on Saturday night. Dylan, how important was it for the Bobcats to get back on track Saturday?
Really important, because the week before they lost to Yale 4-3 on Halloween, and that was a tough loss to swallow because Quinnipiac obviously a better team than Yale, and Sydney Rossman giving up 4 goals. You know how streaky goalies can get. Then they come into this weekend, and Rossman doesn't allow a goal, but then Quinnipiac can't put the puck in the net, and that's a rarity for this team. Then the next day, on Saturday, Quinnipiac gives up a goal early, 1-0, and I'm thinking, wow, these guys might not come away with a win all weekend at home, and then you're looking at 3 straight games where they're not really performing up to their level. Then 3 goals in the second period, anchored by TT Cianfrano's power play goal to end the period, go on to win 3-1. Rossman was really good, only 1 goal on 40-plus shots on the weekend, getting them back on track. They come away with a couple of really big points in the ECAC.
Yeah, and if you watch that game, you would see that after the first goal, like the monkey came off their back. They were so relieved. It led to more goals, and they were able to win 3-1. Is a huge momentum boost going into the future. And I mean, what do you think of the player Sydney Rossman? Only letting up 1 goal, as you said, this weekend. That's a huge boost.
It's big. It's big. I mean, everyone was talking about before the season, how are they going to, play this season without Chelsea Layden? And Rossman's done a phenomenal job. I mean, the D-core has been huge, and they were huge last year. They returned everybody to this year. So I wasn't expecting a huge downfall from last year with Rossman being the goalie. But they look fine. I mean, the first line looks great with Sam Miskevich, Cianfrano, and Emma Woods. I mean, they could beat any team in the country with that first line, and if Rossman's playing well, they can take down anyone.
I agree with that.
The men's soccer team went to Disney for the MAC tournament in search of some magic, but that magic ran out in the quarterfinals as the Bobcats fell to Ryder for the 2nd time in a week. After beating Canisius in the first round 1-0, the Bobcats fell to the Bronx 3-0, ending Quinnipiac's season. Josh, clearly not the season Eric DeCosta's team was looking for. What grade would you give the Bobcats after this year?
I'm giving them a D for this year, and here's why. They didn't win any games at home. Okay, Toby Esch, who's their defender, their captain defender, was tied on the team for 2 goals. That was the leading. They were outscored 27-12 throughout the whole season. You can't do that and still expect a good grade. The only reason that they are not getting enough is because they won that first game in the tournament, and that was a great win, and I'll give them credit. But then they got blown out in the second game, and especially in the second half. Their play was poor all year. They weren't getting the ball into the goal, and that's why I'm giving them a D.
Wow. I mean, it's hard to really disagree with that. I'm going to give them a C, and this is why. I mean, you're talking about a very tough out-of-conference schedule, just like last year. You're talking about losing the best goalie of all time, Borja Angorda. You're talking about losing your top scorer, Marshall Baker, last year, who scored 10 goals. So who are you looking to score? Tristan Henry didn't play as well as he should have this season, the UConn transfer. James Dorg was injured for most of the season in midfield, so they had nothing inside in the middle. James Greco was hurt too. John Diaz wasn't playing this year. So it's really tough for them to repeat what they had done last year. So I'm going to give them a C. Yeah, all the stuff about not winning a home game and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you didn't bring back a lot of big pieces. A lot of the pieces that were huge from last year were hurt. It's hard to rely on freshmen and sophomores from this season after coming back and winning the MAC regular season title. I'm going to give them a C, an average season at best, mediocre.
Okay. Basketball season is starting this week, and that means hockey has a big weekend. What's your game of the week?
Yeah, men's hockey's got a big weekend, but my game of the week is men's basketball versus Sacred Heart. It's the first game of the year. They're a 15-15 team last year that loses 4 starters. They bring in 6 new faces, plus Giovanni McLean is healthy. It's going to be very, very interesting to see who Tom Moore goes with in the starting lineup, who's getting playing time. They've got a very deep squad. 1 through 10 can start. 1 through 10 can play major minutes. That's my game of the week.
My game of the week is Harvard versus Quinnipiac on November 13th. It'll be Quinnipiac's 3rd ECAC game on the season and in a row. They're coming off a hot win against Cornell, 5-4 in overtime. Team has a lot of momentum. They face a tough task against Harvard. I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
Fall sports coming to an end, but the winter sports are just getting going, and some very interesting games this week. Now it's time for the step-up player of the week. Josh, who do you got?
I have Andrew Taverner. He had 3 goals in the past 5 games. He had 4 points Saturday night against Cornell. 2 of those were his 2 goals that were the final 2 goals in regulation, set up the team for overtime.
Big time.
He's been stepping up big in the past 5 games, finally been healthy. He's very big. All right, Dylan, what about your sit-down player of the week?
Well, first let me do my step up because I'm going with Sydney Rossman. And she only gave up 1 goal over the weekend after not really playing well against Yale, allowing 4 goals, 1 goal on 40-plus shots. She looked very good. Quinnipiac with an undefeated weekend. They looked very, very solid. Now for your step down, who do you got? Sit down, excuse me, who do you got?
I have Thomas Allworth because he had a very bad penalty against Cornell on Saturday, which led to 2 Cornell goals. He got tossed from the game. And look, you can't do that, especially when you're
Right.
that big to the team. Led to 2 goals. Luckily, Quinnipiac was able to overcome that.
Right, that's uncalled for. I'm going with Tristan Henry, the men's soccer goalie. Just not what everyone expected going into this year, replacing Borjan Gorda. Obviously, tough shoes to fill, but I expected more out of him and this team, who only had 2 wins on the year, none at home. Tristan Henry, sit down.
Well, Dylan, another episode of Bobcat Breakdown is in the books.
Josh, it's been a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed your first show. First of many, that is. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook at Q30 Sports. And don't forget to check out our website at www.q30television.com. That's Josh Silverman. I'm Dylan Fearon. Have an excellent evening.